Hello and a very warm welcome to everybody that's tuned in. Hello, ladies and gents. This is Adam Eason. Very warm welcome. I'm just waiting a few brief moments to get started. There's still a few people logging in. I can see we're close to our maximum with regards to the attendance, and I've got so much to talk about. So I think we'll get underway. So yes, this is Adam Eason, principal of the Anglo-European College of Therapeutic Hypnosis. And so who is that? Who am I? Who's Adam Eason? I've been a hypnotherapist since 1997, and I continue to see clients in my busy consulting rooms here on the south coast of England, where I'm based. In those years, I've worked with several thousand individuals, and therefore a lot of my teaching is based upon that real life experience. However, my work places a great deal of importance upon evidence-based practice and solid scientific principles. So within my own PhD research, I'm set to become one of the first people to write a systematic review of the efficacy of self-hypnosis to feature in a peer-reviewed academic journal. Likewise, I'm the first person to study the application of self-hypnosis to inhibit the Stroop effect, an area of great interest to the field of cognitive neuroscience, something I'm going to mention later on too. It sounds complex, it's actually really simple, and it's incredibly important for the hypnotherapy field. My ongoing research continues to examine the efficacy of self-hypnosis to advance cardiorespiratory endurance. I personally use self-hypnosis when training and running the various marathons and ultra-marathon events that I compete in. So yes, even though we offer up a real depth of academic and scientific education in our trainings and our lecturings, we do our best to walk the talk as well. And everything that we do in our classes, we do our best to test them and practically apply them all too. I've lectured a couple of times at the Royal Society of Medicine by their request, and I lecture for the Royal Society of Medicine and upon Bournemouth University master's degree programs on the subject of hypnosis. I was the keynote speaker at the inaugural UK Hypnosis Convention and was the first hypnotherapist to be asked to be on the panel of experts for the Talk Health online clinics. In collaboration with NHS Choices here in the UK, alongside conventional doctors and renowned medical experts. I was a founder member of the PHN, that's the Professional Hypnotherapy Network, and I am patron of that organization today. I'm author of several highly regarded books on hypnosis, including The Science of Self-Hypnosis, The Evidence-Based Way to Hypnotize Yourself, and Hypnosis for Running. My online training materials sell globally. I've appeared on primetime TV on both BBC One and ITV here in the UK, displaying my work. I broadcast one of the most highly respected and popular hypnosis podcasts in the world, interviewing experts, pioneers, academics, respected authors, engaging them in friendly, respectful debate. We've even recorded the podcast to live audiences in the past, as you can see from this particular slide. Today, I teach all over the world. I mean, in the last year alone, I've taught in several overseas locations. You can see all the pictures on my social media feeds. And, you know, I mean, that's me in a nutshell. And some of what I believe qualifies me to speak to you today about how to have a successful career as a hypnotherapist and how to derive the best education in the hypnotherapy field. In this webinar then, today, in this presentation, I'm going to show you the value of the right education. What is that, you know? Well, we're going to challenge some major myths, major misconceptions that are proliferated by the very field of hypnotherapy, by hypnotherapists. Many hypnotherapy trainings, they're filled with myth and misconception. Lots of them don't even realize it. Many offer up a singular model without offering up any critique of that model and without any scientific evidence to support it. Good quality education will teach you to think critically about your subject, to know when to challenge the so-called received wisdom or information that's just been rehashed, revamped, and is potentially perpetuating myth. We're going to talk about the value of astonishment. I'll talk about the value of being able to astonish people, potential hypnotherapy clients, colleagues, friends, family. When you learn to astonish in a number of ways as a hypnotherapist, it will delight those that you come into contact with. It will develop an incredible reputation for you on a number of levels. And we're going to talk about the importance of real life proven business skills, and it's specific to the field of hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapists, very sadly, as far as I'm concerned, are notoriously poor at running effective businesses. And I'm going to make sure that you know the direction to go in, and before you even commence your studies within this field. I'm not going to pad things out. I want to get on with offering you lots of content, lots of information about our topic. And so all I'll say before I launch in, do listen to this entire webinar. I'll be advising you how you can get your hands on some majorly useful resources and references for you to use and help develop your own education, your exploration of this field. I've put together some major resources that I'm going to give you for free if you follow the instructions that I give you throughout this presentation. So please keep tuned in. For the sake of the next 1.25 hours, invest yourself, invest your attention, your focus, really tune in. I want to deliver some really useful education here, and you'll derive much more benefit if you are present. Be present. Something I advise my clients, my students, those that I mentor. We all reap so many rewards as a result of doing so. Heck, you don't need me to tell you that stuff. So, if you've started exploring this field already, I'm guessing you have, you've already started making some tentative investigation and inquiry into this field. And so I just wanted to say and offer up a small warning. That is that there may be some slight ruffling of feathers at times in this presentation. I'm going to present about aspects of the hypnotherapy field here that seem wholly ordinary and fundamental to me, yet they seem to ruffle feathers of some sections of frontline hypnosis professionals. And I think this is indicative of how our field exists today. There's such a contrast in perspective, a contrast in levels of adherence to evidence. Some people don't even examine any evidence whatsoever when teaching this subject. And that's a contrast. There's a contrast in what professionals find important to know and understand. And if you find yourself having your feathers ruffled, then please know, I mean well. I simply want my beloved field to develop, to be credible, to be respected, and to be filled with professionals who understand it and will represent it in the way in which it deserves. So yeah, I mean well. I've dedicated my entire adult life to this field. You know what? I was once a Cub Scout, and not just any Cub Scout, I hasten to add, a good, dedicated Cub Scout that even won the Hampshire Super Cub Award once. And here's a picture to prove it. And it's a fact, no former winner of the Hampshire Super Cub has gone on to be a genuinely offensive person. So if you feel challenged by anything I say or suggest, remember this angelic image. How can this boy be anything other than well-meaning? So on to today. Let's talk about today. Let's get into it. Let's roll our sleeves up. Johnny Rotten once sang, "God save the Queen, the fascist regime." And lots of liberal, well-centered hypnosis professionals think of evidence-based practitioners and those favoring a scientific approach to hypnotherapy as a similar type of fascist regime. And I always offer up a deep, pensive, considered response to that, which is, no, we're not. So there. Fascism tends to be about an authoritarian dictate, which is supremacist and demands obedience. Yet proper evidence-based practice promotes critical thinking. It expects to yield to new discovery. It's never about being right, believe it or not. So why do we favor scientifically slanted evidence? Well, it tends to make reliable predictions. It appeals to the what as opposed to the why. And science does not prove anything. All we can say is that the balance of evidence indicates future results. So as more is known, our predictions improve. We're not trying to be right here, okay? And like I said, we yield when new evidence comes along that supersedes what we currently believe. And that is professional, that's ethical. We don't just cling on to the same belief for years and years, refusing to listen to any evidence that contradicts our current way of doing things. So, the world relies on scientific evidence for almost everything. Almost all safety mechanisms, car brakes, food hygiene, gas appliance maintenance, front door locks, everything, relies on scientific evidence in order to trust it. Given that you follow the generally accepted advice, you don't tend to rely on anyone's gut feeling or anecdotal evidence when it comes to the really important aspects of everyday life. I mean, you wouldn't permit your doctor to tell your loved ones or your children, no, my gut feeling is that you do not have cancer. Gargle some Junior Disprin and that lump on your neck will soon get better. That's what another fellow I know did, and he's fine today. Here's some Junior Disprin. Do you remember Junior Disprin? They were a delicious orangey flavor. They came in a tin. I used to love them. Anyway, so if we accept science and evidence-based approaches in other facets of our lives, it makes sense that it's incorporated into our work as hypnosis professionals, does it not? And so in relation to hypnotherapy, let's talk about why. I'd like to think and promote the idea that evidence-based practice is surely the future of hypnotherapy, that it is something to aspire to. Like I said earlier, I trained initially in 1996 and I qualified in 1997, and I have professional memberships dating back to then. So over 21 years ago, I trained as a hypnotherapist who was taught and thus believed in the very popular, still today, very popular model, this conscious, unconscious model of mind. And my career propelled as a result of my first book, which I wrote back in the early 2000s. It was a bestseller. Among many things that I read shortly after writing this book and publishing it, was a wonderful quote that's over 100 years old by philosopher and psychologist, an eminent psychologist, William James. And he had this to say about the unconscious mind. He said, and he wrote back in the late 1800s, that the unconscious mind was the sovereign means for believing what one likes in psychology and of turning what might become a science into a tumbling ground for whimsies. Oh no, I felt hurt. Today, that book, it's still my best-selling book. It's been translated into different languages. Yeah, I'm embarrassed by that book. I rewrote and self-published a different book on the topic. The original is centered on a model that I no longer believe in or adhere to, and it lacks solid scientific underpinning. It's titled, The Secrets of Self-Hypnosis, Harnessing the Power of Your Unconscious Mind. Now, if I were just interested in the money, I'd have kept on with it and entrenched myself in the dogmatic stance. But the evidence against it, against explaining hypnosis and hypnotherapy in terms of an unconscious mind, it's damning. Today, the majority of cognitive psychologists, neuroscientists dispute the concept of dualism, that of the mind being distinct to the brain. There's no center of consciousness, no center of decision making. And it made for some initial discomfort as reality bit me. My book was showing people how to communicate with their unconscious mind that I went on to find out did not exist. Ha! So being an evidence-based practitioner does mean offering up some congruency. I couldn't just stick to it. If I was going to adhere to evidence, I couldn't just kind of make my living on non-evidence-based approaches. So I went on to write a better book that adhered to science and evidence base. And despite the former being my best-selling book, I wrote a book that superseded it and even illustrated how outdated my earlier book was. And the science of self-hypnosis is the culmination of that. Today, my research on this subject, as I've mentioned, has been peer-reviewed for academic journals. My PhD findings are groundbreaking. I lecture for prestigious organizations, as I've already mentioned. I've lectured to NHS directors, to leading oncologists, surgeons, dentists, as well as at Guy's Hospital. And I've given keynote addresses at conventions around the world. And it all led from me showing an initial interest in learning more about the evidence and the science that supports the field that I was working in. Now, just by the way, regarding that notion of the unconscious mind, I'm not the only one uncomfortable about the reality and evidence regarding it. Suggesting that there is no such thing as an independent subconscious mind rankles with and flaws some majorly popular models of hypnosis in the mind. You can visit my YouTube channel for a comprehensive discussion on that subject, where I outline all of the science disputing that model. Neuroscientists tend to accept that we are biological computers. Dualism of mind is probably only useful as a metaphor. And even then, only if you're comfortable with kind of explaining hypnosis to your clients as a mistruth. If you look at the entire works of the man who created the modern field of hypnosis, James Braid, he did not once refer to the unconscious mind. His entire life works. If you look at the most prolific researchers in the field of hypnosis, Irving Kirsch, Theodore Barber, Clark Cole, Nicholas Spanos, Theodore Sabin. These are major academics that I familiarize all my students with their work. All these people that have contributed to this field, none of them mention an unconscious mind. In fact, if you check the entire history of hypnosis and notice, there's no real academic or researcher who even refers to this notion of an unconscious mind. It's a non-issue. It's not even debated. There's no evidence to demonstrate that we actually do have an unconscious mind. There's lots of evidence, however, to support notions of us thinking unconsciously and doing things unconsciously, but actually having a thing, an entity, an unconscious mind that's all wise, it's a benevolent force within us, is simply just not the case. And it's very popular for some strange reason to explain hypnosis as if it is the case. My first key point for you all to please bear in mind when considering training to be a hypnotherapist is that do not train with a school or an organization who only explain hypnosis in terms of a conscious and unconscious mind. It is indeed incredibly popular, but it is also the sign of a very limited education. If you want a credible career whereby conventional medical professionals will refer clients to you, you need to understand both sides of any debate. Likewise, do not train with a company who simply offer up a single brand or approach to hypnotherapy. You want a full education, not just the preferences of a singular biased trainer. As I incorporated evidence-based approaches into my work, the benefits to my clients, success rates, entire business has been transformed for the better as a result. So let's move on. Let's answer this question. Why evidence-based practice? Well, it's exciting. The field constantly develops and it's therefore dynamic. And you know what? Many people are blissfully working in this field of hypnotherapy without any idea of the true depth of scientific studies we have to support our field. If you go to PubMed today, you search for papers on hypnotherapy, for example. PubMed is a research database. There are 12,907 studies as of the day when I searched it. Now, they don't make for comfortable reading for some corners of the professional hypnosis community, though. Many professionals that perpetuate myth and misconception that evidence refutes. Also on PubMed, there are over 50,000 studies on cognitive behavioral therapy, and that tends to be why it's offered quite predominantly by the NHS here in England. For those interested, if you search for studies on the subject of neuro-linguistic programming on PubMed, there's 116 at the time of me recording this. Now here we teach NLP, but we give both sides to it, and this is central to good education, central to the ethos of my college. We're not just giving one perspective, but educating our students on both sides of a debate or both sides of an approach in order that you can make the best decisions for your clients, have the most rounded knowledge and skill set. I'm a fan of elements of NLP, and I created a board game some years ago to help people learn how to play it. I'm friends with major influential NLP teachers and pioneers, but the lack of evidence base for the subject is quite damning, and so there needs to be a rounded understanding of it, and not just a kind of biased blind following and acceptance of everything. So anyway, here as the field of hypnotherapy is concerned, we have 13,000 studies to look at nearly, good ones too, and this is exciting. So why evidence-based practice? Let's conclude this. It's engaging. It's easier to explain to a potential or an actual client why something is likely to work if the justification for believing in it is sound and consistent. It offers up instant credibility to clients. It's something that can be related to and trusted in. It offers up some legitimacy and credibility to conventional medical and health agencies, your clients, GPs and doctors, for example. I know some people are not interested in this, but it's good for business, rather than have a kind of paranoia towards conventional medicine. I think it makes sense to work in an adjunctive capacity alongside them and with them. Have a much more credible career that way. It's downright responsible and client-centered to offer evidence-based practice. That is, you're making therapeutic choices and decisions based upon evidence, as opposed to it being influenced by how you are feeling that day. And evidence-based practice, it's rational. Continued learning is from reliable studies and reviews rather than from egos and armchair philosophy and psychology. So, what are we talking about? What exactly am I talking about when I'm talking about this evidence-based practice? What do we mean by evidence? We mean scientific evidence as opposed to anecdotal, gut feeling, design insight, or guesswork, or somebody just teaching you this subject as a result of experience. Of course, experience is not to be sniffed at. It's incredibly important, therapeutic experience. But that experience needs to be informed and led by scientific evidence, good quality research, and that we're not just talking about sort of trusting gut feelings, which can often be wrong, and can often be made better with the use of intelligent reasoning. It is very well known out there that human beings have cognitive biases of different kinds, and if we just trust our gut feelings, we could potentially be falling prey to those cognitive biases and heuristics that we have, those kind of automatic feelings, and that's not necessarily a good thing to do, automatic thought processes. What is evidence-based practice? Let's continue to look at this question. The American Psychological Association, the APA, defined evidence-based practice in psychology as the integration of the best available research with clinical expertise in the context of patient characteristics, culture, and preferences. So I'm hoping that you get a good understanding here. This is not just a brand of fascism that's not considering the individual, because it absolutely is. It's considering the context of the patient, their characteristics, their culture, and their preferences as well. But we're weighing that up with research and with clinical expertise. This is not just about saying here you must use science without any due consideration of people and practical application. On the contrary. So one of my own goals with my college throughout the year has been to ensure that any hypnotherapist studying this subject, they're not merely paying lip service to the concept of evidence-based practice, but neither is he or she completely limited by an overly scientific approach. And I'm often confronted with this discussion on the seemingly forever debated notion of art versus science. I mean, it's a false dichotomy, but anyway, as far back as 1965, the researcher Ernest Hilgard provided us with evidence that still stands up to some rigor today, and suggests that hypnosis depends more on the efforts of the subject, the individual being hypnotized, than actually any artistry of the hypnotist. And there's general consensus among academics of this, and most pioneers of the subject, from James Braid, who I've already mentioned, to Irving Kirsch, who's conducted more research on this subject than any other human, I'm not sure about non-humans. And they all tend to support the notion that it's the subject, the individual, is the one who imagines, who engages in cognitive processes. So hypnosis depends on the individual's efforts more than the artistic skills of the hypnotist. And I think that's nice to know. And I get people, yes, but Adam, I'm an artist. I use hypnosis, I express myself, much like those people who engage in interpretive dance and flow with all creation. Now, ideally, I wanted to cue Kate Bush's song Babushka at this point, in order that I could illustrate that point really effectively. But in the absence of that, here is a picture of the lady herself. So, if you believe that hypnosis is reliant purely on artistry or the character of the individual doing it, then training needs to offer some very intangible skills. I mean, how do you teach that? How do you measure that progress? So it leads us nicely onto the fact that evidence-based practice is a great leveler. That is, when things are standardized, regardless of your level of skill or ability to use fancy language patterns or have the slick skills of many performance artists that use hypnosis or that have YouTube channels and demonstrate stuff out there, this is not needed for effective therapeutic intervention. You can just adhere to the protocol, the evidence-based protocol. I'm forever getting inquiries from people asking me if my courses are going to help them learn how to speak, how to do stuff like Darren Brown, or how to speak like Milton Erickson, or certain online conversational hypnosis gurus, how to do a quadruple bind confusional adverb displacement language pattern, which makes me, it does make me glaze over just the thought of it, if I'm honest. But evidence has shown, there's a 1993 peer-reviewed meta-analysis by Lynn, Neufeld, and Mayer in particular, where they compared, fancy, complex, indirect language patterns with just plain-speaking, direct language patterns, and showed that neither is actually more efficacious for clients. And indirect language patterns did not enhance the effects of therapy. Those that claim indirect hypnosis and these kind of fancy language patterns to somehow be better, especially with resistant clients, are likely to be guilty of marketing hype. It's good to be taught both sides and both approaches, but to suggest one is better than the other, or to only teach one slanted perspective of one approach, it's just not thorough education. This in and of itself, this is a much larger discussion. I can't possibly exhaust here today due to the time constraints. I want to give you a flavor of a few things. But evidence-based across the broad spectrum of talk therapies and psychotherapies, especially hypnotherapy, suggests that it is a collaborative process. We're doing it together. It's not the hypnotist doing it to the other person. It's jointly engaged in. It's collaborative. An effective working alliance, is first developed by the work of Bourdain in the 1970s. Collaboration through development of expectancy, correct education of the client. This reinforces the collaborative nature of successful therapeutic outcomes. And what it does is it diminishes the notion of the therapist being all powerful and doing hypnosis to clients. Now, I kind of touched upon this subject earlier. I don't want to encourage poo-pooing of much in life because, as a hypnosis professional, we get a lot of poo-pooing. But anecdotal evidence and teaching just anecdotally is probably one of those things that I mentioned. And sorry, I just got behind on the slides. That's the slide about the stuff I've just been talking about collaboration, about educating clients effectively, about having this working alliance, and they all reinforce successful therapeutic outcomes. But I wanted to talk about just kind of refer back to anecdotal evidence and teaching anecdotally as if subjective experience is really credible evidence. But, I do believe that teaching just that way is something that perhaps we ought to be poo-pooing and potentially sticking our tongue out at, or at least asking some serious questions of. Because there is a proliferation and a lot of use of subjective or anecdotal evidence in this field. And what does that count for, and what does it prove really? And do we know for sure that it really happened? And what are the reasons? Therapists and trainers often say they know what works, relying on anecdote of their own experience of success in treating clients. But they can maybe be misled, or it may be even being misleading. Often people get results for a wide variety of other reasons. For example, the congruence of the therapist enhances belief in the process by the client. When a therapist believes in what they're doing, it can create belief in the client, regardless of whether the technique is any good. And it's like expectation and placebo. Evidence-based practice, therefore, means questioning the training, questioning the learning that the practitioners undertake. If their training didn't include evidence-based practice, they might need to challenge a lot of what they've been taught. If their training was evidence-based practice, then they've got to recognize that new evidence can change old assumptions and can render previously taught techniques less favorable. So this leads us nicely on to talking about hypnotherapy as an empirically supported treatment. So those of you that are tuning in live tonight, you can go and just download on the side panel there. You can go and download the first of the handouts. I've just kind of released it there. I have a handout for anyone that's attending here today, which you can download. If you're listening to a recording of this, then just email me for a copy of the handout. It's brilliant, if I say so myself, and it will serve you incredibly well. I'll give you my email address at the end. So this handout, Hypnotherapy as an Empirically Supported Treatment, was kind of created using some ratings derived by a review published by Walk in 2008, in which the references are all and the criteria are given in full. And it just kind of explains exactly what the title is, what we can do with hypnosis, a brief note. And it highlights a number of studies that have really passed the grade as far as how they become and what we can actually say is an empirically supported treatment or not. And this is really strict criteria. So you'll notice down towards the bottom end of the handout, then there's a stop smoking study mentioned there. And the vast majority of people that I encounter with a moderate amount of knowledge about hypnotherapy tend to think that hypnotherapy is first and foremost a great way to stop smoking, to help people with smoking cessation. They think it's one of the best applications of hypnosis, and it's very well known as a stop smoking remedy to many people. But if you truly explore the evidence available, and certainly combined with my own clinical experience, it leads me and many of my colleagues to believe that hypnotherapy is brilliant for dealing with pain, overcoming anxiety, enhancing sleep, many other applications, irritable bowel syndrome. But stopping smoking is much more advanced and a much tougher challenge altogether. There are many hypnotherapists making impressive claims out there regarding hypnotherapy and stopping smoking, and an equal number of hypnotherapists quoting research for the efficacy of hypnosis for stopping smoking. And it's worth examining the evidence for many of the claims. Actual studies involving proper control groups and really rigorous testing, a number of which in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, typically tended to demonstrate success rates of 0 to 50%, which doesn't sound that great. It's still a lot better than nicotine replacement, for example. But many hypnotherapists claim to have much higher success rates. But do they follow up? If they engage in an independent follow-up system that's checking all those clients at 6 months, at 12 months, at 18 months? The most impressive and seemingly thorough review in existence today is one that was conducted a few years ago by Green and Lin, and they examined 59 stop smoking studies and drew the conclusion that when measured against this criteria, the strict criteria of evaluation for the empirical support of diverse psychotherapies, hypnosis was a possibly efficacious treatment, possibly efficacious. It's definitely, hypnosis is definitely a better choice than many stop smoking techniques or choices, and it's fairly brief, even if the evidence also suggests that more sessions are better than a single one. Yet there are so many hypnotherapists out there offering a single stop smoking session, and they're struggling with it. Stop smoking is just one example of where evidence-based would vastly help practitioners. So look out for trainings, again, trying to teach you a single session stop smoking protocol, to just kind of blanket apply to everybody. Something I just wanted to add at this point, evidence-based practice, it does accept that all techniques don't tend to work for all clients. However, it does provide us with a rationale for which techniques to choose in which order. And like I said earlier, too much adherence to evidence base is not relevant or pertinent to the clinical environment. So we don't let evidence just dictate what we do. We let it inform us and the choices that we make. And the truth is, that we just don't have the full story. The search for one true universal definition that explains hypnosis, it continues. There are rumbles on the front lines of the hypnotherapy field and among academics, and disagreements, for example. So you need to be taught the full discussion, not just one perspective of that particular school favors. You need good education on the full shebang to make an informed decision, not just be spoon-fed. Hypnosis is currently a fringe subject of the psychology field, and things like a socio-cognitive perspective, a cognitive behavioral perspective, these are approaches that are still at the fringe of the hypnosis research world. And funding is thin, researchers are few and far between, but there is research that we can dip into that shows much more favorable ideas, and we don't need to accept a particular single model to learn from the results. And while academics fight to discover why and how hypnosis works, we can benefit from the spoils of their battlegrounds by utilizing these reliable weapons that they are uncovering. We can benefit from the debate and from the discussion. So you've got to at the very least be aware of the discussions and the debates. I really do not and cannot understand why so many hypnosis training courses do not include some strong science. Because this is an exciting time to study hypnotherapy. It's an exciting time for hypnotherapists. When I began advocating evidence-based approaches, it really felt like we were up against it. Very few schools doing the same. Personally and professionally, I encountered quite a lot of opposition. In more recent years, though, I think there's definitely the culture of therapy in general is changing, so that therapists and clients alike quite rightly expect the techniques being used to be based on sound scientific research. And I enjoy, I urge you to join in advancing that shift. An evidence-based hypnotherapist needs to have understood, experienced, and professionally developed not only their scientific understanding of evidence-based treatments, but just as importantly, their clinical expertise of the process of therapy, the non-specific general factors as well that make all therapy more effective according to science. So, as I mentioned earlier, hypnotherapy probably has a stronger scientific evidence base than most people realize. And the range of conditions treated by these studies is very broad. Now, there's also another handout here that you can go and grab. It's the science of hypnotherapy. And I'll run through a couple of these points, but examine the handout at your leisure. Again, if you're watching, if you're engaging with a recording of this webinar, email me. I'll send the handout through to you. It's another really helpful and informative handout. Like I said, I'm going to give you my email address at the end. Just send me an email. And so, one of the things that that you can just start to have a look at, and some of the stuff that's included upon these slides, some of these points. Hypnosis is not a sleep-like state. As you saw earlier, I run ultra marathons using hypnosis. You do not have to be lying down with your eyes closed, dribbling down yourself while the therapist is playing mind numbing whale music, you know, with a crochet blanket thrown over you, while they speak like a Hush FM DJ. You know, it's you know, hypnosis is, you know, it's kind of been caricatured as that way. It's not a sleep-like state, and also it's not associated, it's not correlated. That is not correlated with relaxation. It can be relaxing, it can advance relaxation massively, but it's not sleep-like. I mean, it doesn't need to be sleep-like. And there is some really interesting studies of people being hypnotized whilst on stationary bicycles and still being very responsive whilst pedaling and having their metabolism highly stoked. So very different to relaxation, despite them having, you know, a relationship and often happening at the same time. That spontaneous amnesia is actually really rare, regardless of what you've seen on TV shows or stage hypnosis shows. All subjects retain their ability to control their behavior during hypnosis. And most hypnotized subjects are not faking nor just complying with suggestions. And one of the most profound pieces of research that we have to support this is supported with the use of hypnosis in conjunction with something called the Stroop task. So it's a task, and with the next few slides, okay, wherever you are, just call out, just say what color the writing is. Okay, so I'm just going to flick through some slides, and as quickly as you can, okay, we're just going to do this little Stroop task. We're just going to do a few slides, and I just want you to engage in this task just for me to illustrate my point here. Remember, you're tasked with just calling out, you know, I can't hear you, no one else can. Just call out as fast as you can what color the writing is. Okay, let's go for it. Red, blue, green, orange, red. Aha. Now, did you say blue, or did it take you longer to say red? So that delay, that is the Stroop effect, because your brain is reading one word and seeing a different color. And really impressive research that we have has shown that this entire effect can be inhibited with the use of hypnosis. Suggestions given for word blindness, and this is important to the field of cognitive neuroscience and cognitive psychology, and it's something that I've been studying within my PhD and has been studied greatly with a view to really understanding hypnosis. And you need to know this. Your training has got to show you the importance of science such as the Stroop effect. You can't comply and do the and inhibit the Stroop effect. You know, it shows that you're not just complying, you're not just acting as if this is the case. You know, you're not just acting as if you're hypnotized. You can't pretend to inhibit the Stroop effect. Yet people have shown over and over again in the research that with hypnosis they inhibit the Stroop effect. It's incredible. A couple of things I just want to mention before we move on. Then I've talked about this idea, you know, being intelligent enough to see both sides. And whenever I say to any hypnotherapist, you know, you're intelligent enough to see both sides, they say, yeah, of course. Of course, everybody's going to say, yes, of course. If yes is universally the answer to that question, then why are they not treated as if they are intelligent enough to see both sides? That is, why are they not given the critique to what they're being taught? Regression schools, you know, very often don't teach the critique to regression. NLP don't teach the other side of the debate. Very often, people that have this kind of leaning and this theme, this central ethos to their approach, or just teaching one singular approach, you know, this is potentially a problem. We need critical thinking skills. We need a rounded, full education. And we need to be able to critique everything that we're doing in order that we can make the best choices for our clients, in order that we can derive the best results. And you know, we've got more to choose from, and more to base our decisions upon as well. So that's evidence-based practice. I want to talk next about astonishing. about astonishment. And I speak to a lot of members of the public about their experiences with hypnotherapists. And a lot of students who attend my classes feedback to me about some of the early hypnosis experiences they've had prior to training to be a hypnotherapist. And likewise, I speak to many people who simply attend my one-day classes for personal development, who talk to me about their experiences in hypnotherapy sessions with hypnotherapists. And so many people describe the hypnotherapy sessions they had as nice or pleasant or relaxing. And I think many hypnotherapists are missing a trick here. In my opinion, when someone comes to see a hypnotherapist, they are highly receptive, they have expectancy, they are primed, they are ready to be astonished. And this is what I think develops your business impressively: astonishment. You want to make it your intention to wow those who come into contact with you. Your role as a hypnotherapist. Every time you engage with someone in relation to your hypnotherapy business, you serve them in such a way that they are astonished. You help them and support them in ways that they're unlikely to be experiencing with the masses. You set yourself apart from the other hypnotherapists that are magnolia painted, vanilla flavored, and nice in inverted commas. And you know, because your clients, your potential clients, are going to be contacting and having experiences with all of those. You want to stand out. You know, in your hypnotherapy sessions, when they leave you, what do you think they're going to tell their spouse or their friends about their session with you? What will they tell colleagues, friends, confidants, or others who have similar issues that you could help with? The best salespeople for your business are clients who had success with you, right? You know, who are going to refer you. The best salespeople for your business are clients who had success and who you served so well. They had astonishing experiences with you in your hypnotherapy rooms. Of course, and that's fundamental to what we do. But there are many other ways to astonish hypnotherapy clients, and I want to talk about a couple of them. You know, firstly, you know, appropriate use of humor. You know, when I talk about using humor in hypnotherapy sessions, you know, I don't mean that you start telling gags. Hello, Mrs. Smith, nice to meet you. I'm Adam. Anyway, knock knock. It's probably not the most appropriate opening gambit for developing an effective professional working alliance with your client, but being able to find joy, humor, and laughter in some of the seemingly dark places that exist in a hypnotherapy session can be illuminating, like shining a torch in. It can break down barriers, it can ease pain, you know, research shows. It can build relationships, it can heal. When people laugh and have fun, sessions with a hypnotherapist start to become memorable for all the good reasons. It becomes an enjoyable experience rather than a chore or something that's just riddled with pain. Anecdotes, stories, metaphors can be heavily punctuated with good humor. A hypnotherapist effectively using self-deprecating humor can also help develop rapport in the working alliance. It's rare for people to associate therapy sessions with fun, laughter, and joy because we're so often working with very serious issues. Of course, we don't belittle issues, we're not making light of them, and we don't attempt anything inappropriate or unprofessional. Yet striking the right notes with appropriate humor gives clients a wonderful experience that they will speak fondly of. You know, and likewise, our language. As talk therapists, as hypnotherapists, language is pivotal. But we use language in a way that enlivens the session, that makes it enjoyable, exciting, and fun. That doesn't mean that we use jargon or big, long, multi-syllabic words that baffle, or we're using complex, so-called hypnotic language. It means that we just want to bring this session to life, that we be emotive with the voice and with language, while also remaining congruent with who we are. You let your language motivate, inspire, and help the client feel safe, secure, and like they are in good hands with you. But the main tool for astonishment that we have as hypnotherapists, over and beyond that, which other talk therapies can offer, is the very use of hypnosis, the creation of hypnotic phenomena. I recall working with a man who had seen another hypnotherapist at his first session with me. He described the session he'd experienced. You know, he said it was very nice. The man was very nice. I was very relaxed, but I'm still not sure I was hypnotized. I'm still not sure I was hypnotized. Now, if you're a hypnotherapist, surely your very raison d'etre is to ensure people know they've been hypnotized and they've experienced it convincingly. Getting their hand stuck to the table, having a pen stuck to their hand, unwavering arm catalepsy, arm levitation, amnesia, anesthesia, or any of these things, testing it, urging them to test it, and not attempt to comply. Don't try and comply and please me as a hypnotherapist. Hypnotic phenomena becomes hypnotic skills that the client practice and develop. These become great ways for you to conceptualize how hypnosis works, and you give them evidence of how to best develop responsiveness to these suggestions. But importantly, they will know they've been hypnotized. How did the session go with the hypnotherapist, darling? Compare. Yeah, it was nice. The hypnotherapist was really relaxing. He played pleasant whale music, and I think I nodded off. And compare that, I'm not sure if I was hypnotized. Compare that with, it was amazing. My hand was stuck to the table. I could not get it off. There was no glue involved either. I was certain I was hypnotized. When people go to see a hypnotherapist, they want hypnosis. Use hypnosis to astonish them and deliver upon high expectations that they may have. Your sessions will stand out greatly from the majority of other local hypnotherapists, and your clients will be talking about their experiences with you before they've even achieved the therapy results. And the therapy results, of course, are going to be wonderful for them to discuss and talk about. But this is a key point. Do not train with someone who just wants you to throw a crochet blanket over your client, adopt this Hush FM DJ voice, play whale music in the background, and just bore the living daylights out of them. Sometimes it's good and appropriate to be relaxing and have a relaxing environment, but not always, and not just kind of without any consideration or thought, not just a matter of course. Of course, we dazzle people by demonstrating a depth of knowledge about your subject and helping to educate them effectively with the right kind of knowledge about what's going to happen in the sessions. Evidence suggests that when people understand the underpinning rationale about hypnosis, they will become more responsive to it. When they're more responsive, have a better understanding, and the subject is demystified, then it could be something they can do for themselves. They can share throughout their life, and it works into other areas of their life. And I mentioned earlier, serve people, give people amazing experiences of you, demonstrate your skills, be outstanding at what you do, get the best hypnotherapy training to begin with. And then when you have one-to-one encounters, consultations, conversations, interactions, you do whatever you possibly can to serve those people and serve them wonderfully well. Over deliver on what they expect too. Give better service, give more resources. Go on to astonish people with the way you serve them and with the actions that you take to help and support them. These points that I've mentioned here, they're at the foundation of every hypnotherapy session I have had with clients, and are at the heart of much of what we teach at the college here. Setting out to astonish your clients is one of the best things you can do for your hypnotherapy business and for the people that encounter you. You do these things, you'll easily thrive as a hypnotherapist. You don't need gimmicks and nonsense that's sold out there about how to develop your business. Don't give people nice experiences with you as a hypnotherapist. Serve them so well. Make them laugh, educate them, use inspiring language, elicit hypnotic phenomena, and you will astonish them. The more people you astonish when you encounter them, the better your hypnotherapy business develops, the better skilled you will become at the same time. And I'd say that that's pretty much the best business advice I believe that I give. But, as I promised, I have a bit more as far as that's concerned as well. When we talk about business, when we talk about, developing a business as a hypnotherapist and wanting to go on and have a successful career, you've got to be good at what you do. You've got to have a good education first and foremost, because that's the foundation upon which everything is built. But you want to have goals, and be goal focused. That is, you know what your short-term goals are, your medium-term goals are, and your long-term goals, and that you review them often in order that you can be goal focused, and that you look at your goals in terms of them being smart, put together in smart fashion, that they are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, and that they have some kind of evidence-based principles to them, that, they're challenging enough, but not so challenging that they cause stress or that they become defeating, that they stretch you enough. And also goals will help you in a wide number of different ways. They'll help you seek out new skills, they'll help you keep driven, and so on, and I mean, ultimately you want your goals to feed into a sense of purpose that you have, that your real purpose for doing what you do. But when you start your studies, I recommend that you clarify and craft a powerful vision for what you want to achieve, how you wish your life and career to be, because that vision transforms you into a hypnotherapist with a mission. And this spreads and echoes into every area of your life. You see, once you've got a good foundation built, where your goals and your vision are just kind of driving and filling you, with a sense of purpose, you can then start to strategize. During your studies, you strategize your actions to make your vision a reality. And I recommend you develop an effective and impactful strategy for how you then show up. Show up in inverted commas, day in, day out. That includes how you renew yourself each day. You get focused on putting some systems in place for your business. Every system is perfect for the result it's getting. And you want to look to develop systems that then provide the outcomes you're after according to the kind of strategy. But in line then with what you learn on your training course, you upgrade your existing skills so that you can take action and implement your strategy. You discover any deficits in your skills and knowledge, your entrepreneurial skills, and you look at planning on how to plug those gaps. There might be certain skill sets you need in order to achieve certain results that you're after. During training, perhaps even identify any skills that you need to build and develop them during your training. Importantly, though, prepare to take effective action. On my own diploma courses, I offer a couple of after-class additional free workshops that explain these things in simple terms. I show everybody, all of our students, how to go about doing this without any stress, how to go about developing their business without any stress and developing the skills that are required. And I think that's important. I think it's one of the reasons that so many of our students have successful and effective careers. And then, that you optimize your environment, that you find clarity on the kind of clients, the kind of issues and people who energize you, with whom you do your best work, and you want to identify what drains you, what drains your mood, and just optimize your environment accordingly. And of course, throughout your studies, you want to look at mastering your psychology as far as your business development is concerned. That might be releasing fears, overcoming doubts, letting go of limiting beliefs, settling any insecurities that you may have. During your training to be a hypnotherapist, apply everything that you learn to yourself so that you create confidence and empowering beliefs. Uncover anything psychological or emotional that may be preventing it from happening effectively. And that's, do that, adhering to evidence-based psychology, behavioral science, proven principles. You might consider, a great way, it's not the only way, but a great way to gain credibility when you're first qualified, because you're going to be competing with experienced professionals in your marketplace, is that you can develop a specialism, create a niche for yourself that you are an expert in. During your studies, collate as much information as possible about that niche. Get your tutor to help you, get all the research, the right methodologies together, and choose something that you've got a profound interest in, or you are already passionate about, perhaps an issue that you yourself have overcome or dealt with. And then when you launch, you're going to have immediate perceived credibility because you've got expertise already. You still get to work in all the other areas, using hypnotherapy in a wide number of other ways, but you have developed and established credibility already. For me, I demonstrate this and I dominate the science of self-hypnosis niche in the world. I lecture all around the world and teach about this subject. But also, I was an ultra runner, a marathon runner, and I wrote and researched about using hypnosis for running. You Google the subject hypnosis for running, you can see that I nail that niche. And I've worked one-to-one with Olympians. I've starred on TV, worked with world record holders, runners as a result, and that niche permitted me to do that. Now, in the last 2 decades, times have changed. The perception of the field of hypnotherapy has changed. There are more hypnotherapists out there than ever before. There's more information available about hypnotherapy than ever before. And things continue to change rapidly. Just as we all engage in continued professional development, as a hypnotherapist, most quality organizations will expect you to engage in continued professional development to keep your skills relevant, fresh, adhering to up-to-date research, up to date. So we need to understand how to develop our business effectively and how to keep attracting clients to it. Today, I encounter many, many hypnotherapists at lectures I'm giving, when I'm speaking at conferences, CPD trainings, many other events. And so many of them struggle. So many of them ask me best ways to get clients. And it's virtually impossible to offer up a soundbite and a tea break that will transform them from kind of desperate, isolated, eager hypnotherapist into successful, commanding professional with a healthy waiting list of referred clients. You want to see more clients. You want to excel as a busy hypnotherapist. You want kudos. You want to serve the world, help as many people as possible be well and benefit from what hypnotherapy can do. You want these things and probably more besides. So what's the solution? You join a hypnotherapy diploma course that gives you proven advice and support on setting up an effective business. It's not difficult when you know how. You don't need to go looking for specific gurus who more often than not are just supplementing a poor income by offering and regurgitating unproven, poorly qualified business advice. When you've got the support and the guidance of those who have thrived as a hypnotherapist themselves, it's the best way to go about it, and can prove it as well. Can prove it, not just give you vacuous statements, but can prove that they've thrived and that they've earned a really good living, and that and that you're getting ongoing support with that. You're not just qualified and then just left to it. So take all of this advice today and go set the world on fire as a hypnotherapist. Now, if you want to learn how to be a credible, evidence-based hypnotherapist who can astonish and build an effective business, then please do, of course, consider me. Consider my college and the diploma course that we offer here. Let me tell you just a brief bit about it. It's 10 modules. Okay, it's offered in monthly format or in an intensive format. So it's 1 weekend a month for 10 months, or 2 9-day intensive tuition formats. So we can fit it in with whatever kind of lifestyle you have, or whatever sort of fits best. And if you've not got one already, then go and get yourself a prospectus for our courses, which has all the dates, all the content that's included, and so on. It's strongly evidence-based. Like I said, we're not evidence-based fascists, but there's a good, strong adherence to evidence-based. We give both sides of every debate a model taught. And we are as independent as we possibly can be. There are 3 major qualifications. You get the HPD, which is externally assessed, one of the most solid qualifications for the field of hypnotherapy in the UK, especially today, but it's also very valid around the world as well. The HPD, the Hypnotherapy Practitioner Diploma. You get a clinical hypnotherapist qualification from me, from my college, and there's an NLP practitioner certification as well. You get allocated a class assistant who will help you with any additional support that you need throughout your studies. And we have lots of support mechanisms in place for once you are qualified. And we have online groups and forums and peer support groups and things like that. There's major career development, ongoing support that we offer everybody. And if you email me, I'll talk you through a major package that I offer anybody who takes up our course, our diploma course, and the full classroom-based hypnotherapy practitioner diploma. We give you, or as a result of listening to this today, we'll give you full access to our Business Development Academy, which is a big online program, usually costs several £100s. We give you that for free. And we give you access to the full online diploma course as well. Now, the online diploma course can be taken independently on its own, but when you attend our classes, our classroom-based hypnotherapy practitioner diploma, we give you full access to the online diploma course as well. If you want to go and revise any of the modules, you know, you've got full video footage. Additional resources, additional lectures on specialist topics that are covered in the diploma. If you want to specialize in a particular area, there's additional resources to go and look at. So our full online diploma course we give you. If you ever, you know, have an off afternoon in class, for example, you can go revise, revisit that information, and it's all there throughout the entire time that you're studying with us. You get to come on my one-day seminars as well. Just for with no extra fee, just covering costs of the hotel for being a delegate. That's my Science of Self-Hypnosis seminar, my Rapid Induction seminars. They are incredibly popular, and you don't pay us a fee as far as they are concerned. One is incredibly practical. You get to elicit lots of hypnotic phenomena, all the really cool stuff that you see on television. We teach that, and we teach the science behind it and the processes with the rapid inductions and the hypnotic phenomena seminar. With the Science of Self-Hypnosis seminar, you get to learn how to do everything for yourself, how to really apply major science and self-hypnosis strategy to yourself. You get to test it as well. Everybody gets the chance to test glove anesthesia and analgesia methods. And then on top of all of that, when you qualify, I might give you for free 2 hours one-to-one mentoring, where we get you really set up, and look at what you're doing and look at the strategy, and we sit down and really hammer out a strategy and look to support you as much as we possibly can. And people pay me a lot of money to come for one-to-one mentoring, so it's something that I think offers a great deal of value. And for me and for the students that we've had over the last 2 decades, you know, it's a proven recipe for success, this package, for anybody that's interested in coming and training with us. So the final thing that I want to say, you know, I think right there, that's a recipe for success. You train as a hypnotherapist with the highest level quality education, you know, the kind of stuff that's led to me lecturing and teaching for some of the most prestigious organizations around the world on this subject. You get full business development expertise, and, you know, you get to live your life serving others, you know, in a really honorable fashion. So email me, you know, if you're interested. Email me. As a thanks for tuning in, if you email me today at this email address that's shown up here, info@aecollegeofhypnosis.uk, I'll also offer you a discount. I will offer you a discount off of the fees. You'll get all of the stuff that I just mentioned in the previous slide for that complete package. You'll get all of that free as well, all of that in addition. I will also extend to you and give you for free 2 awesome free hypnosis audio tracks. I wonder how many more times I could say the word free then, excuse me. If you want the handouts, if you're listening to this as a recording, or if you struggle to download them, I'm getting messages here. A couple of people have just struggled to download those from the webinar software. And then just email me and I will send those on to you. I'll send the free hypnosis tracks on to you. I will send you a healthy discount to thank you for tuning in. You know, I want to work with people who have an interest in evidence-based, who want to astonish, who want to make this field credible, who want exceptional careers. I'm less interested in people who want to recycle myth and misconception and say easy routes. And I hope you understand that. I hope you get a feel for that. Explore my college website. It's just it's just aecollegeofhypnosis.uk, just the end part of the email address that's up on the screen at the moment. Just go check that out. If you look in the latest news as well, the latest news section there, you'll see loads of blog posts where I've posted videos and snippets and all kinds of really interesting stuff that will help you to get a really good idea and feel for the ethos of this college, and so on. I'm going to put the recording of this on a page on the college as well, and there'll be some major resources further down on this page if you're thinking about what to do next. Download the course prospectuses, go and have a read of some of the free resources and free articles that I'm suggesting and mentioning. Go have a look at some of the YouTube clips that we put out there, and that should really give you a good idea on top of everything that I've spoken about today about what we are. And even if you don't come and study with us, please take heed of some of the key points that I've mentioned here today, and you'll benefit greatly. Really, you'll benefit as a result. So that's it. Email me today, info@aecollegeofhypnosis.uk. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this stimulating and interesting, and I really look forward to hearing from you. And even if I don't, I wish you the very best. I wish you the very best moving forward with this field. I hope you discover it in all its wonder and discover its effervescent qualities that are there. And I send you my very best wishes. Goodbye for now.